What's up everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today we are jumping right back into the action with Marvel Rivals. We're testing this highly requested hero shooter on the Lenovo IdeaCentre powered by an Intel Core i5 and the NVIDIA RTX 3050 OEM with 8GB of VRAM. A lot of you guys have been asking how this specific budget-friendly setup handles the chaotic, fast-paced 6v6 combat of Marvel Rivals, especially with the game's fully destructible environments pushing the Unreal Engine 5 to its absolute limits. For this entire benchmark, we are locking the base graphics preset to medium settings. We want to see if the RTX 3050 can maintain that crucial competitive frame rate without making the game look like a blurry mess. Right now, we are kicking things off with pure native 1080p resolution. No upscaling, no AI tricks, just raw GPU rendering. As you can see during these initial team fights, when characters like Iron Man and Storm start spamming their abilities, the native performance is okay, but it definitely feels like the hardware is working overtime. The frame pacing can get a little choppy when the destruction physics kick in. The temperatures on the Lenovo IdeaCentre are holding steady, but we really want to push closer to that smooth, high refresh rate experience. In a competitive shooter where split-second dodges matter, playing at native resolution on a 3050 might leave you at a slight disadvantage during heavy ultimate combinations, but it's playable. Keep your eyes on the frame time graph in the corner as we push through this match. In just a moment, we will switch on the upscaling to see if we can claw back some much-needed frames. Alright, moving into the next phase of the test, we have now switched the upscaling over to ultra quality mode. Now, I have to bring up the elephant in the room. During this performance check, I noticed something absolutely bizarre about the settings menu in Marvel Rivals. I genuinely feel that the super resolution model button doesn't really do anything. It is literally just sitting there in the menus like a decorative feature. I spent time toggling it on and off, switching between different upscaling models, and honestly, the visual output and frame rate delta feel practically identical in some of these upper-tier settings. It is a known bug floating around the community right now, with many players reporting that certain resolution scales and toggles fail to apply correctly unless you restart or tweak the config files. Regardless, running on what the game claims is ultra quality, the image still looks incredibly sharp. The edges on the character models are crisp, and the visual clarity across the map is excellent. The frame rate has seen a slight bump, giving us a bit more breathing room during those intense close-quarters brawls with Venom and Black Panther. The Lenovo IdeaCentre's i5 processor is definitely keeping up with the physics calculations, but the GPU is still the primary bottleneck here. The game is highly demanding, and even on ultra quality, the 3050 is sweating to keep those 1% lows from dipping too hard when a wall crumbles right in front of you. Transitioning over to our next setting, we're dropping the upscaler down to the standard quality mode. This is usually the sweet spot for 1080p gaming on mid-range cards, and honestly, looking at the gameplay right now, the visual fidelity takes a very minor hit, but the fluidity is starting to feel much better. When you are playing a hero shooter like this, visual clarity is absolutely vital. You do not want to drop frames when you are tracking a fast-moving Spider-Man zipping across the skyline. In quality mode, the RTX 3050 is rendering the game at a slightly lower internal resolution and using AI to fill in the gaps. While that super resolution button still feels completely unresponsive, the game's underlying engine is definitely giving us a more stable frame time graph here. You might notice a tiny bit of ghosting or shimmering on thin objects, like wires or distant fences, but in the heat of battle, it is barely noticeable. The medium settings keep the textures looking decent enough up, and the lighting is still quite dynamic. I was reading through some forums earlier, and a lot of RTX 3050 users have struggled with severe stuttering in this game, often linked to memory leaks or Windows hardware accelerated GPU scheduling. But thankfully, on this Lenovo pre-built, with its full 8GB of VRAM, we are avoiding the worst of those nasty stuttering issues. The extra memory over the standard 4GB laptop models is really saving our lives here. We are getting a consistently playable experience, even when the screen is completely filled with magical effects and explosions. Moving further down the scale, we are shifting gears into balanced mode. As the name implies, this setting tries to walk the tightrope between image quality and pure performance. Immediately, you can see that the game is looking a bit softer. The character models lack that final layer of crisp detail, and the background environments are starting to look a little muddy, especially when you are moving the camera quickly. However, the trade-off is a noticeable increase in raw frame rate. If you have a high refresh rate monitor paired with your IdeaCentre, this is where you start to feel the benefit of faster input response. But again, I have to emphasize how weird the optimization feels right now. Even stepping down to balanced, the scaling doesn't feel as aggressive as it does in other Unreal Engine 5 titles. It makes you wonder if that decorative super resolution button is causing the engine to default to a fallback rendering mode. Despite the quirks, the i5 and RTX 3050 combo is holding the line. We are getting a very smooth, competitive experience. The UPU utilization is maxed out, and the Lenovo cooling system is doing a decent job keeping the thermals in check. You really need to keep this card cool to avoid thermal throttling during a long 20-minute ranked match. So far, balanced mode is providing a very solid, highly playable experience, even if we are sacrificing some of that next-gen visual shine. If you care more about climbing the competitive ladder than admiring the scenery, this is a highly viable configuration. Finally, we have pushed the setting all the way down to performance mode for the remainder of the video, still on medium graphics but with maximum upscaling applied. Alright, let's be honest here. At 1080p, performance mode is rough on the eyes. The internal resolution drops significantly, and the upscaler struggles to reconstruct a clean image. You can clearly see a lot of artifacting around moving objects, and the overall picture has a distinct blurry Vaseline smear effect. Distant enemies become much harder to spot, which can actually be a massive disadvantage for characters that rely on long-range precision. But if you are desperate for every single frame, this mode will give you the absolute highest FPS possible on the RTX 3050. The game feels incredibly responsive, and the input lag is practically non-existent. But you have to ask yourself if the visual downgrade is truly worth it. In my opinion, sticking to quality or balanced on medium settings offers a much better overall experience on this Lenovo IdeaCentre. The fact that the super resolution toggle seems broken makes tuning this game a bit of a headache, but as you can see, the hardware is more than capable of handling Marvel Rivals if you are willing to tweak the sliders. See how the system handles these medium settings throughout the video, and please share your thoughts in the comments down below. Are you running an RTX 3050? Have you noticed that broken resolution button too? Let me know your experience. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you found this benchmark helpful. It really helps out the channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.